Mr. Rain sat alone at his desk while the class of alien children laughed and chattered after the lesson. The lesson was about human joy, a strange concept for most of them. On the board, he had drawn a smiling face and written the word happiness. But not once during the whole lesson had he smiled himself. Laura, a young Zephyrian student with glowing blue eyes and shimmering skin, noticed it again. Every day, she watched Mr. Rain carefully. His voice was calm, his posture perfect. His tone never angry, never excited, always flat. He spoke of laughter, love, memories, even jokes, but never showed any of them. Laura tilted her head, confused. Zephyrians were not known for emotions like humans, but even she could feel. Something was missing. After the others left, Laura stayed back. "Mr. Rain?" she asked softly. He looked up, startled. "Yes, Laura." She hesitated. "You talk about joy, about smiling. But why don't you smile?" Mr. Rain blinked, then looked away. "Some feelings," he said slowly, "are too deep to let out." Laura didn't understand. "Is it pain?" Mr. Rain's eyes flashed with something unreadable, but then he nodded faintly. "Yes." She waited, hoping for more. But he quietly packed his books. Laura bowed politely. "Thank you for class." "Good evening," he replied. But as he walked out of the room, Laura made a decision. She waited a few seconds, then followed him quietly down the long white corridor of the Learning Center. She used her silent steps, something she had learned as a child while playing in the crystal caves of her homeworld. Mr. Rain walked slowly, past the library, past the transport station, toward the edge of the city. Finally, he stopped at an old, almost forgotten part of the Zephyrian gardens. There were no lights here, only soft purple plants that glowed gently at night. Laura hid behind a thick vine wall and peeked. Mr. Rain stood by a stone bench. Slowly, he pulled out a small folded piece of paper from his coat. He stared at it for a long time. Then, something surprising happened. He sat down, buried his face in his hands, and began to cry. Tears ran down his cheeks. Quiet, painful tears. No sound, just sadness. Laura's heart thudded. She had never seen a human cry before. She had read about it in the emotion books, but this was different. Real, heavy. She didn't understand. Why would someone so kind be in so much pain? She didn't mean to make a sound, but a soft step broke a twig under her foot. Mr. Rain quickly looked up, wiping his face. "Who's there?" he asked sharply. Laura stepped out slowly. "I'm sorry, sir. I followed you." Mr. Rain stood up, embarrassed. "You shouldn't be here." "I had to know," she said gently. "Are you broken?" His eyes widened. For a moment, the night stood still. He didn't answer. Instead, he held out the paper. She stepped forward and took it carefully. It was a drawing, simple, done by hand. A woman with long dark hair, holding a little girl with blue eyes. Both were smiling. "Your family?" Laura asked. He nodded. "My wife, my daughter. Long ago." She waited again. The air felt heavy. "They're gone," he said, finally. "Taken during a war no one here wants to remember." The Zephyrians erased the whole event. They said it was better for peace. But Tear Pain didn't get erased, Laura whispered. He looked at her. For the first time, really looked. "No," he said. "Some things." Laura sat beside him, unsure what to do. On her world, comfort was not a usual thing. But something inside her stirred, something human. "Maybe," she said, "you teach us about feelings. Because you don't want us to forget what they mean." He gave a sad smile, not from joy, but from understanding. She looked at him. Again Anne said, You're not broken, Mr. Rain. Just hurting. He closed his eyes. A single tear fell again. This time, he didn't hide it. Asterisk Laura couldn't sleep that night. Mr. Rain's quiet tears haunted her mind. She kept thinking about the small drawing, the smiling woman, the little girl. It was not just paper. It was a piece of a broken world, hidden behind her teacher's sad eyes dot in her room. She pulled out her learning tablet and searched the Zephyrian Education Network. She typed in words like human war, Earth families, emotional, trauma. Every time she pressed enter, the screen returned the same message. No records found. Subject restricted by council order. Restricted? It made no sense. Why would Zephyrians peaceful and advanced erase history? Unless they were hiding something. The next day in class, Mr. Rain looked normal again. Calm, controlled. Like nothing had happened. But when his eyes met Laura's, there was a flicker of silent understanding between them. After class, Laura didn't leave. Sir, she asked gently, may I ask about the drawing again? Mr. Rain paused, then nodded, slowly. They were real, he began, keeping his voice low. My wife's name was Elia. My daughter, Riva. They died when our ship was attacked during a border dispute. We were trying to reach safety, but the Zephyrians didn't want to get involved in human wars. Laura frowned. But why erase it from records? He hesitated. The council decided long ago that emotion leads to conflict. Pain leads to rebellion. So they cleaned history. They deleted what didn't serve peace. But that's not peace, Laura whispered. That's silence. Mr. Rain looked at her, a small, sad smile tugged at his lips. You're wiser than your age. She looked away, frustrated. I want to know more, but everything is blocked. There's a place, he said softly, checking the hall. An old learning archive beneath the East Tower. Most forget it exists, but it holds fragments, old files that escape deletion. Laura's eyes lit up. Can I go there? No. Mr. Rain said sharply, it's forbidden. The council finds out, you'll be punished. But if no one remembers the truth, she said, how will anyone heal? He was silent. Finally, he whispered, be careful. That night, Laura crept out after the moonrise. She carried a small AI drone in her satchel and wore her quietest boots. The old tower was covered in vines, half forgotten. It smelled of dust and time. She found the hidden entrance behind a cracked stone wall. Inside, everything was dark, until her drone lit the way. She walked through long halls filled with data crystals, broken monitors, and shattered memory cores. Then she saw a locked console marked Earth Events, archive number 09X. She connected her drone to the panel. It clicked and hemmed access granted. Laura held her breath. Words and images appeared on the screen. Photos of human families, reports of ships attacked, audio clips of people crying for help. Then, a video. Mr. Rayn. Smiling, holding his daughter on his lap. She laughed. His wife kissed him on the cheek. The video glitched, then cut to an emergency broadcast. Ship down, civilian losses. No rescue response from Zephyrian outpost. No survivors confirmed. Laura's chest tightened. She blinked rapidly, trying to control the strange wetness in her eyes. How could the council erase this? Why? She downloaded everything to a small chip and turned to leave, but suddenly she heard a voice from the shadows. Who's there? She froze. A figure stepped out, tall, robed. A Zephyrian guard. You are not allowed here. He said, coldly. I just wanted to learn, she said, backing away. Knowledge is not permission. Laura ran. Through the dark corridors, across the garden paths, until she reached her home. Her heart pounded. But her hands clutched the memory chip tightly. She had seen the truth. And now, she couldn't unsee it. The next morning, she entered the classroom late. Mr. Rain looked up, concerned. "Are you all right?" "I saw them," she whispered. "I saw the video." His expression froze. "I saw her laugh. I saw you smile. I saw." What they hid, he said nothing. Just stared at her, a deep silence, full of both pain and gratitude. "I want others to see it too," Laura said, her voice trembling. "No more hiding." Mr. Rain slowly took a breath. "Then be ready. Because truth always has a cost." Laura sat quietly in the back of the classroom, staring at the screen while Mr. Rain gave the day's lesson. Her mind wasn't on numbers or stars or planetary rotations. She was thinking about the video, the little human girl laughing, the happy family, and then silence. Her fingers brushed the edge of the memory chip inside her pocket. It felt heavy, as if it carried the weight of 1,000 secrets. Because maybe it did. After class, Laura didn't wait. She stood in front of Mr. Rain's desk, eyes determined. "Tell me everything," she said. "Tell me about the war." Mr. Rain looked around the room. The other students were leaving. The hallway was quiet. He closed his tablet, his eyes tired. "Are you sure?" "Yes," Laura whispered. "No one else will tell me. And the truth deserves to live." Mr. Rain walked to the window and stared out. The sky above Zephyra was soft blue, with streaks of silver clouds, calm, peaceful. A perfect lie. "There was a war," he began. "Not long ago, but long enough for people to pretend it never happened. Between humans and who? An empire called the Varnock Dominion. They were cruel, cold. They enslaved smaller species and tried to conquer Earth." Laura's eyes widened. Why didn't Zephyra help? Mr. Rain's jaw tightened. "Because your council said it was a human problem. They refused to take sides. They feared involvement would disturb balance. So, they watched. They watched us burn," he said, voice low. "Ships full of children, destroyed, colonies erased. My wife, my daughter, were on one of those ships, heading to safety. A Zephyrian ship was nearby. It could have helped, but the captain received orders. Do not interfere." Laura felt a strange heat in her chest. "That's not peace. That's cowardice." "They called it diplomacy," he said. "But for me, it was betrayal." He paused, then added, "When I spoke out, they stripped my record, banned me from Earth, travel, and forced me to teach here. Under strict rules, no war talk, no emotion teaching beyond approved topics, no truth." Laura couldn't believe it. The Zephyrians, the ones she had always thought were wise and fair, had chosen silence over justice. But why? She asked. "Because truth causes discomfort," he said. "And Zephyrians value harmony above all, even if it's built on lies." Laura pulled the memory chip from her pocket and held it out. "I want to share this," she said. "With the other students, with the planet." Mr. Rain's eyes widened. "You can't, if the council finds out." "I don't care," she interrupted. "They should feel what I felt when I saw your daughter's smile. They should know what they erased." He took the chip from her hand and held it tightly. "I once believed no one would care," he whispered, "that the pain would just sit inside me forever. But now, you do care. That matters." Laura nodded. "You taught us that emotions are not weakness. So let them feel the truth." That night, Laura secretly uploaded the video to the school's central data stream using a hidden backdoor link her drone discovered in the archives. The next morning, everything changed as students arrived. Their screens began playing the forbidden video. First, laughter from a little girl, then the emergency broadcast. Then a message, written by Laura herself. "Truth cannot be deleted." Not. Forever, whispers filled the hallways. Teachers froze. Some cried, some panicked. A few remembered. Mr. Rain entered the classroom, and every student stood up. Not in fear, in respect. One of the older alien boys stepped forward. "Sir, I'm sorry we didn't know." Mr. Rain didn't speak. He simply nodded, holding back tears. But the calm didn't last before midday. 3 council guards arrived at the learning center. They entered the classroom and spoke firmly. "Mr. Rain Lura, you are under investigation for spreading unauthorized emotional content." The room went silent. Lura stepped forward. "I did it." The guards looked confused. "She acted alone," Mr. Rain said instantly. "She found the files, but I approved the upload." "I acted alone," Lura said again. They stared at each other, each trying to protect the other. "You both will report to the High Council chamber at first light," the guard announced. "This act has consequences." As they were escorted out, the other students watched with wide, tear-filled eyes. No one laughed. No one moved. The silence wasn't peaceful now. It was heavy. That night, in a small holding room, Mr. Rain sat beside Laura. "I'm sorry," he said. "For what?" she asked. "For bringing this weight to your young shoulders." She looked at him and smiled softly. "You didn't give me weight, Mr. Rain. You gave me truth. That's a gift." He closed his eyes and whispered, "You remind me of her." Laura didn't ask who. She knew. The High Council chamber of Zephyro was built with glass walls and floating stone floors. From the outside, it looked beautiful, shining like hope. But inside, it felt cold. Laura stood with her hands behind her back. She wore her school robe, though her chest felt heavy with fear. Beside her stood Mr. Rain, silent and calm, his eyes fixed ahead. The room was full of council members, tall, wise Zephyrians, dressed in flowing robes of silver and white. They sat above the accused on floating platforms. One of them, Elder Varus, spoke first. "You are charged with sharing forbidden historical data, emotional propaganda, illegal recordings." Laura raised her head. "I shared the truth." Another member frowned. "Emotion disturbs order. Truth must be weighed." Carefully, Mr. Rain finally spoke. "What order do you have when it is built on lies?" Gasps filled the room. The word lies was not often spoken here. Elder Varus narrowed his eyes. "This trial is not about philosophy. It is about rules. You broke them." Laura stepped forward. "Then maybe your rules are broken." There was a moment of complete silence. Then a murmur swept the chamber like wind through dry leaves before any punishment could be spoken. A quiet chime echoed in the air. A new figure entered, an old Zephyrian woman with a crystal walking stick. Her hair shimmered with time, and her eyes looked tired but wise. "Elder Neelary," Vara said in surprise. "You are retired. You have no standing." "Then I stand as a witness," Neelary said. Her voice was soft but sharp, like wind over ice. "I have seen what the girl uncovered, and I bring more." She tapped her stick, and a floating orb appeared. It played another video, one the council had buried long ago. A Zephyrian ship. K, a human distress call. Silence. Then the ship turned away. Gasps again. Elder Neelary looked. "At the council, we watched them die. We let it happen. We called it balance, but it was cowardice, and we buried it." Varus tried to speak. "You risk our unity." "Our unity is false," Neelary replied. "And this child, this human teacher, they have shown more courage than we ever did." She turned to Laura and Mr. Rain. "You are not criminals," she said. "You are healers." Laura's eyes filled. With tears, Mr. Rain looked at the floor as if unsure whether to feel relief or sorrow. The next day, Laura and Mr. Rain were released, but they were not welcomed home. Some called them brave. Others called them dangerous. Students whispered. Teachers kept their distance. Still, something was changing. Quietly, slowly, a group of young aliens gathered around Laura after class. You were brave. One of them said, "Can you show us the rest?" asked another. Laura glanced at Mr. Rain. He nodded. They took the students to a quiet room, one that hadn't been used in years. There Mr. Rain opened an old archive projector and began to show the hidden history. Photos of Earth's past, footage of the war. Recordings of humans laughing, crying, singing. Some students cried. Some were silent. But none looked away. That night, Laura returned to the old East Tower, the secret place where the memory chip had come to life. This time, she wasn't alone. Mr. Rain followed her, curious. "What are you looking for?" he asked. "Something deeper," she replied. "I think the archive has more." She placed her drone on the control panel. The lights flickered, then revealed a hidden layer of files marked suppressed cultural records. She opened them. Inside were entire histories. Not just of Earth, but other species too. Tribes erased, languages forgotten, art, music, memories, all thrown away in the name of control. "This is more than one war," Laura whispered. "This is a crime against every voice that's ever been silenced." Mr. Rain said nothing. He just placed a gentle hand on her shoulder. They downloaded everything. By the next cycle, whispers turned into voices. Students began asking their teachers questions. Some teachers began quietly showing old lessons. A few council members resigned. Others demanded reform. Change had begun, but not without risk. One night, Laura found a message scratched into her room's door. "Silence is survival. Stop before it's too late." She stared at it, heart beating fast. She didn't sleep. In the morning, she showed the message to Mr. Rain. He looked at it, then at her. "You still want to continue, Gia?" She nodded without hesitation. "Good," he said. "Because once the truth begins to speak, it doesn't stop." The great plaza of Zephora had never been so full. Thousands of alien citizens stood silently, watching the giant holographic screens above the High Council Tower. A special public hearing was about to begin, something that hadn't happened in over 100 years. In the center chamber, Laura and Mr. Rain stood once again. This time, they weren't just being judged, they were being heard by the entire planet. Elder Varus sat high above, his face tight and unreadable. Around him, other council members sat quietly, while glowing drones floated to broadcast the trial. Varus spoke first, his voice echoing in the chamber. "Today we face a difficult question. 2 individuals have broken our laws by revealing restricted historical files and emotional content. But they claim to have done so in pursuit of truth." He turned toward them. "Do you deny your actions?" "No," Mr. Rain said calmly. "We do not," Laura added. "We told the truth. Your truth. The one you buried." The crowd outside gasped. VOHR has raised his hand. "We did what was necessary to keep the peace." Laura stepped forward. "You call it peace. But it's not peace if it's built on silence, fear." A murmur ran through the crowd, and even some council members shifted uncomfortably. Varus narrowed his eyes. "You are a child. What do you understand of war, of balance?" "I understand grief," she said. "I saw his face when he cried. I saw what your silence cost him." Mr. Rain didn't move. His eyes remained on the crowd. Not defiant, not angry, just tired. Deeply tired. Varus continued. "Your feelings, though powerful, do not change the law. History was restricted for a reason. We cannot allow emotion to control society. But it already does, Lure answered, voice louder now. You fear emotion so much that you erased it. That fear is emotion too, only hidden. The younger council members leaned forward. And what do you propose, student? That we open the archives. That we stop pretending pain doesn't exist. That we teach the truth, not the version you approve, but the full story. Aris laughed, cold and sharp. You think truth will unite us? No, child. It will divide us. Cause anger, rebellion, chaos. Laura looked toward Mr. Rain. He gave her a small nod. Then she turned back to the council and took a deep breath. If we are so weak that truth can break us, then maybe we deserve to be broken. Outside, people began talking. Loudly, some cheered, others argued. The screens flickered, zooming in on Laura's determined face. Back in the chamber, Vera stood. This hearing is concluded. A vote shall be taken. The punishment will be decided. But before he could finish, the room dimmed. A soft chime rang out. A new voice filled the space. Low, deep, and familiar. I call for witness override. Heads turned. A figure stepped through the council doors. Elder Nylary, accompanied by another Zephyrian few had seen in decades. He was tall, with dark green robes and a silver symbol across his chest. His name was Keller, one of the last original explorers who had once worked with humans during the early star travel days. You have no authority here, Varus growled. I do, Keller said. I was part of the council when the suppression vote passed, and I carry the override seal. He held up an ancient medallion. It glowed with soft red light. Varus stepped back in shock. Keller walked forward, his voice calm but firm. I was there when the humans asked for help. I remember their words, their fear, their hope. And I remember when we turned our backs. He turned to face the crowd through the giant screen. We erased history not to protect others, but to protect our pride. Gasps echoed through the chamber. I watched Ilya Rain's message, pleading for help, Keller said. I saw the coordinates. We were close. We could have saved her and the child, but we did nothing. Mr. Rain looked away, holding back the tears. Keller continued, Mr. Rain is not broken. Laura couldn't speak. Her throat felt tight. Her hands trembled. Elder Nylary stepped forward too. Let the citizens vote, not just the council. Let Sephora decide if truth is worth the risk. That night, the planetary system ran. Its first public vote in generations. Screens glowed in every home. Families watched the video of Mr. Rain's daughter, Vilia, of the abandoned ship, and when the vote closed, the results were clear. 85% chose truth. The archives would be opened. The emotional education, laws would be rewritten, and the council would face public review in the quiet of the old classroom. Laura and Mr. Rain sat alone. You did it, he said softly. No, she replied. We did. He looked at her. You remind me of her. No, she whispered, smiling through her tears. The vote changed the law. But it did not change the people overnight. The truth was out. The archives were open. Mr. Rain was cleared of all charges. Laura was praised in newswaves across Sephora. Some even called her the voice of memory. But not everyone clapped. Some Zephyrians still turned away when they passed. Others whispered coldly, they broke our peace. One night, Mr. Rain sat alone on the roof of the learning center. The stars above looked the same as the night Aliyah and Riva vanished. He could still see their faces when he closed his eyes, not in sadness now, but in soft, silent memory. He didn't notice Laura until she sat beside him. It's quieter now, she said. Yes, he replied. Too quiet, she'll tilt at her. Head, do you miss the silence? The one before the truth. Mr. Rain didn't answer right away. I don't miss the silence, he said. But I miss innocence. Not in you, in me. Lura looked confused. I lived here for years, pretending. I had moved on, pretending I was teaching facts and not hiding grief. I thought if I didn't speak of them, they'd stop hurting. He looked at her, but the pain just settled deeper. She nodded slowly, and now he gave a soft smile. Now it breathes. And that hurts, but it also heals. The next morning, a council messenger arrived with a sealed invitation to Dot. Mr. Rain and Lura, you are formally invited to address the first emotional reconciliation gathering. All major cities of Zephyra will watch. Your voices are now symbols. Laura's hands trembled as she read it. We're not ready for that, she said. Maybe, Mr. Rain replied, but neither was the truth. And yet, here we are. The gathering was held in the core spire, the heart of Zephyrian memory. A tower built for silence, now buzzing with emotion. Aliens of every age filled the hall. Screens hovered in the air, streaming the event across. Cities and even orbiting stations. When Mr. Rain stepped onto the stage, a silence fell across the room. Not fearful silence, respectful. He looked out at them. He didn't speak from a script. He didn't rehearse. He simply placed a small holymage on the podium. It showed Ilya and Riva. My name is Rain, he began. I came to this world. With books, with knowledge, with facts. But I carried something heavier. Grief. He paused. The room stayed still. Grief is not a virus. It's not a crack. It's not a weakness. It is love, with nowhere to go. A few heads lowered. Some eyes shimmered. I taught your children about humans. But I never let them see my own humanity. I was afraid it would be too much, or that it would be taken from me again. He glanced at Laura, standing nearby. But one of your own reminded me. Pain is not poison. Pain is proof we cared. He stepped back. The crowd didn't clap. They just stood, quietly taking in his words. Then Laura walked forward. My name is Laura. I used to believe emotions were messy, that history was better clean. That sadness was dangerous. She looked around, but then I saw him cry. And I didn't turn away. I asked, Are you broken? And he said yes. She smiled gently. I thought being broken meant being weak, but now I know. Being broken means you've loved enough to shatter. Gasps. Then, quiet tears. Not loud, but everywhere. After the gathering, the planet began to shift. More humans were invited to Zephyra, not as guests, but as friends. Schools added emotion history to the curriculum. Students learned about Earth's wars, art, love. And lost. Alien poets began writing about grief. Alien children asked their parents, did we ever make someone sad? And in one small part of the city, a statue was raised. Not of a hero with weapons or robes, but of a man holding a child's drawing. With tears falling down his cheeks, the base read, Truth lives where pain is allowed to speak, but not. All was healed one day as Mr. Rain walked through the learning garden. A young Zephyrian boy ran to him, eyes full of questions. Teacher, my brother says feelings are just weakness. Is that true? Mr. Rain kneeled, eye level with the child. You cry when you're sad? He asked. Double quotes, yes. Do you cry because you care? Yes. Then feelings mean you care. That is not weakness. That is strength. The boy nodded slowly, then hugged Mr. Rain, surprising them both. Later, Laura joined him under the tree, where he used to sit alone. You don't cry here anymore, she said. No, he replied. I remember here now. They sat quietly. Then she asked, do you still feel broken? He thought for a moment. No, he said softly. I feel stitched, Stitched? She asked, smiling. Yes, not new. Not perfect, but whole enough to go on. The seasons had changed on Zephora. The twin suns now cast longer shadows, and the silver-leafed trees began to fall gently like feathers. The city, once quiet and polished like glass, now had sound music from students practicing Old Earth. Songs, laughter in the gardens, and soft weeping during story time in the new memory halls. In the heart of it all, Mr. Rain taught like always, but he was no longer just the human teacher. Now he was Rain, the rememberer. Children from many species, Zephyrians, Tolinks, even the quiet Sarian came to his class not only to learn Earth facts, but to feel, to understand, and to ask questions. One young girl, barely old enough to fly her hover disk, once asked, "Why do humans cry when they are happy?" Mr. Rain smiled and answered gently, "Because sometimes the heart is too full, and tears are how it spills." Laura had changed to Dot. She no longer sat in the back of the room. Now she sat beside Mr. Rain in class, helping younger students understand human art and history. The council had given her a new title, the Heart Keeper. No alien had ever been granted an honorary Earth name before. She wore it proudly, but not because of status, because it reminded her why she started. One simple question to a sad man: "Are you broken?" One day, a visitor arrived at the Learning Center, a human diplomat from Earth named Alara Mendez. She was kind, sharp-eyed, and full of questions. She had read about Mr. Rain's trial. She had seen the speech, and she had brought something with her, a small metal cube with a flickering blue light. "A message for you," she said. Mr. Rain took it carefully. He activated the cube, and a hologram appeared. A human man stood there, older, dressed in military robes. He had Earth medals on his chest. "Mr. Rain," the man said, "I'm General Anders, survivor of the Varnic War. I served with your wife on Colony Outpost 9. She saved many lives. Your daughter Riva was known to every soldier on that base. Her laugh gave us hope in the dark." Mr. Rain stared at the image, barely breathing. "I just wanted you to know," the general continued. "They mattered. We remember them, and now, so does the galaxy." The message ended. Mr. Rain didn't speak. He just placed the cube against his heart and closed his eyes. Laura gently placed her hand on his shoulder. They weren't forgotten. "After all," she said. "No," he whispered. "They never were. I just forgot how to believe it." That night, a festival lit up CEPHYRA. It was the first ever day of shared memory, a new tradition where stories of the past were told openly. Across the planet, no files were locked, no feelings hidden. Lights danced in the sky. Bonfires were lit in every district. Songs were sung in 100 languages. Laura stood on the main stage, surrounded by younglings holding paper drawings of things they loved. Some showed stars, some showed families, and one showed a human hugging an alien under a tree. She read a short poem she had written. "We thought silence was safe. We thought emotion was loud. But truth grows in open hearts, and healing stands." Proud, when she finished, there was no applause. There was something better. Everyone raised a candle, light, simple, and bright. Later that night, as the fires burned low, Mr. Rain walked through the garden paths of the city. He ended up at the old bench, the one where he once cried alone. He sat down. A small wind moved through the trees. He reached into his coat and pulled out the folded drawing of Elia and Riva. The edges were worn, but the image still clear. Then he did something he hadn't done in years. He took out a pen and drew. One more face beside them, his own smiling. A soft voice spoke behind him. "You finally see yourself with them again." It was Laura. He nodded. "I always saw them, but I never thought I deserved to be in the picture." You do, she said. You always did. They sat there together in silence. Not the empty kind, but the peaceful kind, the kind that follows. After a long, honest cry, as the stars shined above, Mr. Rain spoke one last time. I'm not broken anymore. Lura looked at him. Neither are we, she said, and this time, when the wind passed through the trees, it didn't feel cold. It felt like a whisper from the past, saying, thank you.